Welcome to Tech Tuesday. My name is Abby Ritchie. I'm the founder of Senior Savvy, and we help older adults learn to use their technology at your communities. Today, I have a great guest, but before I bring him on, I first want to say thank you to Fynn.io for sponsoring this episode. And Fynn offers a comprehensive senior living platform by operators for operators. And now you can visit them at Fynn.io. Let's go ahead and run our intro. Welcome back to Tech Tuesday. I want to go ahead and invite my guest on. We've got Brett Landrum. He is an industry expert, and he is the founder and co-CEO of Procare HR. Welcome to Tech Tuesday, Brett.
Thanks, Abby. Excited to be on.
Yeah, I'm really glad to have you here because this is a topic we actually don't talk about. We don't talk about HR tech and the innovations in that whole industry. So I'm excited to have this conversation with you. Would you please introduce yourself to our viewers, who you are, where you've come from, and why you're doing this?
Yeah. So Brett Landrum, founder, co-CEO of Procare, was fortunate to kind of fall backwards into this organization and entrepreneurism about 8 years ago. Really, kind of started up the business primarily at the time. I wanted to be an entrepreneur, and then as we got into it, realized that there were some really unique challenges that the industry was facing, and was fortunate enough to bring some really great folks on our team that came from the industry, who really kind of stoked that flame and created the basis for what Procare is today.
And when you think about the industry of HR in senior living and the whole landscape of tech, where do you think it should be in comparison to other industries?
Yeah, I mean, look, so I think the industry broadly, one, technology is moving so rapidly, especially the last 6 to 12 months, right? Like everything you're seeing with AI, and I know that's the buzzword, but it is reality. The large organizations, with the resources to, I think primarily a lot of public companies today with the resources to be able to really change their business are changing their business with technology faster than it's ever happened before. So broadly, I think kind of the technology landscape and the impact it can have on organizations it's accelerating at a faster pace than we've ever seen. I think for senior living, it's really easy to be hard on ourselves and say, oh, there's all these other industries that are so much more technologically advanced and But look, you're always going to be able to find an industry that's more technology advanced. I think broadly in senior living, I actually think we're doing pretty well. I think the industry is adopting technology. Most organizations that we work with and talk to, they're using technology to run HR, finances, building operations, the billing, and there's organizations that are using robots to provide care. It doesn't get much more technologically advanced. So I think I hear a lot of people talk about senior living and that we're so behind the times. And it's nah, I kind of think that's BS. I actually think the organizations we talk to are doing a really good job trying to figure out how do I take these new technologies and apply it. Sure, maybe it's not as fast as an organization out in Silicon Valley or a couple other, industries, but I actually think by and large, senior living as an industry has done a nice job.
It's funny you should say that because I've definitely heard of the counter argument there, especially when it comes to Steve Moran's perspective. So we'll see how he weighs in on this particular topic. And let's really narrow in on your area of expertise, which is HR tech options in senior living. What are some of the most commonly requested and necessary HR tech options?
Yeah, so I'll on the note of Steve, look, I think my belief is that the industry as a whole, like I said, is doing a good job at making those attempts. And I think part of what I've heard from Steve is also like, we got to keep pushing the pace, and we can't like rest on our laurels and like, and I agree with that. I think it's easy. I think like technology adoption kind of comes in cycles. Right now, I think we actually just got out of a cycle, which is why you're seeing a lot of these, senior living organizations have tech in place for like lots of different components of operating their business. I think the next cycle is, what are they doing with AI? In which case, like in that scenario, and kind of the new technology that's coming out. And I think I would agree with them. I think senior living is not doing a good job right now broadly of deploying new technology. But I think like I said, I think we're doing well, and I'll say maybe the area where I don't think we're doing as well is like, we went really broad with technology adoption. Now we got to go deep, and you know this better than anybody, Abby, given your background. But like we have all this adoption of technology at the executive level, but it's like, how do we get traction and persistency at the site leaders and the caregivers and all the folks kind of operating the business day to day. And I think that is a challenge that the industry hasn't conquered. And it's and look, like every organization on the planet will tell you that user adoption is super tough and they all struggle with it. And we want our salespeople to use CRM, and sometimes they do and sometimes they don't. But like, I think senior living in particular, because of high, kind of high percentage of caregiving workforce, high turnover, coming out of COVID, some of the environmental circumstances, like I think they've really struggled to drive, further adoption of the systems. And so what ends up happening is we buy all these different technologies and we use them for different components of our business, but we use 20% of them because we can't actually get deeper into the technology because we can't get user adoption. So like, maybe a multi-layered opinion there, but like I said, I think we're good at like broad adoption. I don't think we're as an industry, I think we're actually pretty awful at going deep and really getting uptake at an operational level.
It's not even the fact of going deep, but you did mention like just the usage of 20%. And I find that so frequently that an operator in a community may only be accessing 20% of the technology that's available to them in this innovative product. And in order to keep your product relevant, the facility needs to be constantly aware of what else is available to them, as well as how to use it.
Yeah, totally. I mean, like I think to get to your point or your question on HR, like, look, like take HRIS systems. Like everybody has now, I would say most senior living operators have an HRS system, and it's typically got payroll, full stack HR, et cetera. Sometimes they'll bolt on an applicant tracker or a scheduler that's kind of industry specific. ATS for like high turnover, high volume recruiting, and then the scheduling for obviously like really dynamic 24/7 senior care environment. But like so often we go in and it's like, all right, they've bought a really great HR technology platform, and they're like using payroll, but not really like they want, primarily because they can't get adoption and consistency across the sites. You've got, maybe we're doing benefits, like I'd say like 70% are using it for benefits enrollment. I'd say like 30% are happy using it with benefits, benefits administration. You've got like kind of employee system of record, a little bit of employee self-service in there. But like, I'd say like 70 to 80% of the organizations we talk to, like that's kind of where it stops. It's like, hey, we got the basics, but like we're not doing succession planning in there. We don't have great dashboards to tell our leaders like how are we doing on our people KPIs. Like, we're not leveraging performance management where we can get really good long-term data. Like, and that's like, to your point, I think people just are not using, in particular in HR tech, are not using kind of the full horsepower available to them in all these systems.
And so tell us, does Procare encompass all these different options?
Yeah, so we do. I think we've on the technology front. I think the thought process or philosophy and frankly we've been on both sides of the fence on this one is like, do you buy the all-in-one system that where it's one login for leaders, one login for caregivers, and you can do everything, but you're going to be your grade on each functional area of the system is going to be different. Like, hey, we're an A on payroll, A on time and attendance, we're a B plus on ATS, we're a C on employee experience, a D on scheduling, and whatever on B plus on ben admin, right? Like, do you do that, or do you say, hey, we're going to have like one system that covers most of what we do, but for the areas where we need like really really specific, where we're maybe investing in an outside system and kind of trying to integrate it or connect it with our kind of core platform can drive like significant value. Do you put together a couple of different systems? And I would say like we've been on both sides of that argument. Where Procare, at least for us, our thesis is today is like primarily use one system, but for like again like kind of tip of the spear, like, hey, if we do this well, it has a significant organizational impact. In those areas we should go find like absolute best in class technology. Like, look, whether your benefits administration function is a B or an A, I really don't believe is going to have that big of an organizational impact. But if your scheduler in this space is not an A, you're gonna lose money. Period. Like, I'm not saying like the business is going to lose money, but you're not capturing. You are not going to capture all the labor savings you possibly could. On the applicant tracking side, like if you have 1,000 employees and you've got a bad applicant tracker and you're running 60% turnover, like again, you're going to have higher labor costs because if you don't have kind of the best in class technology there. So our approach has been go find kind of the best in class system that can do most things well to great, and then bolt on like absolute best in class applicant tracking and scheduling.
Love it. Love it. That sounds like a very practical approach. And I want to talk about that just a little bit more, and also what led you to start Procare in just a minute. But first, I want to go ahead and thank our sponsor today. Fynn.io is a comprehensive senior living platform by operators for operators. And let's listen to a little clip from Fynn.io.
You can invest a lot of money and continually hire care staff, the best that you can possibly find. But if they become frustrated or if they don't have access to the right information to do their job well, they're very likely going to move on to another location. So if you can give them an environment where all the information that they need is readily available and they're rewarded for doing a good job, recognized for doing a good job, and they feel personally valued at that job, then they will stick around. They will perform better. They will build better relationships with the residents and the resident families, and you will ultimately have a better living situation.
Thank you, Fynn, for that word from our sponsor. We're talking today with Brett Landrum, who is the founder and co-CEO of Procare HR. Welcome back. I want to ask you, what led you to start Procare HR?
Blind luck mostly.
Yeah.
At the time, I thought I knew a decent, a little bit at least about senior care, and I look back and didn't at that point have what I have today, probably in the tip of my pinky. But really it was about like, it seemed like every senior living operator I talked to had fairly consistent challenges across every functional area of HR. Every operator had kind of different degrees of issues or challenges in each area, but it was like really consistent. There didn't seem to be like a really great solution. So it was a little bit of a bet on like, all right, can we create one? And we were hoping that there's, at that time we're like teeny, it's me and have a little bit of, a little bit of capital to be able to start this thing. And it was really, hoping that there wasn't already a solution out there. And doing our best to build one. So and really, like, I would say what's, there wasn't some like brilliant moment where I was like, oh, this is gonna be a great idea, it's gonna be wildly successful. It's actually, it's kind of been like a slow build where, the cycle I talk about is like, when we started 8 years ago, I could never have imagined like what we would be today. And I didn't like have that in my head and have some like, brilliant visionary moment where I was like, oh, I'm going to start this business and it's going to be, whatever. But like, what's been cool is that we have this cycle where it's like we bring on great people that are passionate about the industry and, are willing to do hard things and you know, get behind kind of a common goal. And then like that produces really exciting success. And that exciting success draws like the next round of really good people. And, that cycle just keeps kind of continuing. But like each time we bring on new people that are really excited about the industry and, are willing to do hard things and buy into this bigger dream, like our collective target goes up. So it's like, geez, like before this is where we thought success was, and now our team's doubled and we have all these other great people that believe in what we're trying to achieve. Like maybe we should raise the bar. And so just the bar keeps going up every time. And so, I think like when we look at like what we want to be 5 years today, I suspect we'll, hopefully be much better than that. And our view of success will have elevated a lot 5 years from now. So that's kind of been the cycle for us.
I wanted to ask you about that 5 years from now. So, when you're thinking about implementing HR technology and integrating and adoption, what comes to mind in that 5 years from now idea?
Yeah, I mean, I think philosophically for us, we've kind of taken two approaches. One is that like technology is only as good as your ability to operationalize it. And that's where we talk about some of the throughput and persistency of use throughout the organization. And so we really focus on like, what do we as an organization need to do to support our customers and make sure that they get like, they get the adoption beyond the initial umph of like, great, we got the mission critical thing stood up, people are kind of using it, et cetera. Okay, we got to go deeper. We've got to expand how we're using the system and expand who's using the system. So like, that's an area that's like constant evolution. I think we're good at it today, but we got to be great and continue getting better.
Yeah.
And look, like I actually think if you're really good at this piece, which is, the adoption and uptake and support, I think you can make a subpar or mediocre system feel like a good system.
Yeah. Yeah.
And on the other side of it is like, we actually don't want to have subpar mediocre systems. We want to bring best in class technology. And so, we feel like we've brought a HR technology stack together that is best in class and that we can bring to market confidently. And so now it's about like, really continuing to partner and collaborate with those, with our vendors and helping them evolve and iterate on the product for our space, and then making sure they're doing our part really well, which is getting people in and making sure there's persistence with use and adoption and blah, 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 blah. It's like, I think for us, like a lot of the foundation is there. We have to continue to kind of really push the pace and execute.
What for you makes an ideal vendor?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So number one thing that's always been important to us is executive alignment. So we don't have that with everybody, but we have it with most of our vendors. And it's critically important that like, we understand what we need to do in order to support their organization, and they understand the vision for our organization and their role in it. So like we talk a lot about, good to great flywheel. So it's like, we need our vendors to understand like, where do they sit in our flywheel and how does that help, ultimately drive momentum kind of across our ecosystem and organization. So I think like the executive alignment is critically important. I think alignment for being in the industry and what, and supporting senior care specifically is critically important. And then like part of the executive alignment is an ability to adapt and iterate quickly. We're pushing really, really hard. We're rolling out new service lines, trying to figure out how can we better support our operators every day. And we need tech partners that are nimble and willing and believe in our growth trajectory, where they're willing to invest the energy and the dollars in molding their product to what we're telling them the market's demanding, or at least the market would maybe not demanding yet, but will be demanding in the future.
As an entrepreneur myself, and I know you are, what have been some things in the past couple of years that you've piloted that you've been incredibly excited about that have flopped? And what are some things that you were just like, I don't know, that have soared?
Yeah, I mean, part of the nimbleness of our business. I mean, I know exactly I won't name the name, but we we got really excited about some different technologies. And what we didn't appreciate when we vetted them was the organizational shift it was going to take us to implement them. So like we went, oh wow, this is this great new technology. It's going to delight our clients. Like amazing, we'll get so much more efficient. Well, what we didn't fully appreciate is like, well, hey, the last 5 years we built a team of people that operates our business and integrates with our clients based on technology A. And while it's not like we completely ignored the fact that there's going to be our own internal change management, but we focus so much on our client and whether that product would delight them and whether the change management would be effective there, that we kind of ignored it internally. So when we rolled it out, it was just like a complete disaster because we had done everything we could on the client side and had kind of ignored internally. Well, then ultimately the clients felt it because we weren't able to execute, deliver. So I think that was we touched our hand to the stove and left it there longer than we should have. And I'd say that's a burn that we still reflect on quite frequently when we look at changes and across all, not just technology, but all vendors now. It's like, man, do we really have the organizational energy to do that and do it and be great? And I think
that definitely comes up a lot in some of our team meetings at Senior Living Foresight. Do we have the bandwidth to do that? And then the other thing too that Christine mentioned was about remaining nimble, which I think is so important. And especially I've seen that in the last 3 years, where your business model may have been one way, and then based on circumstances, you have to totally shift and change it so that you can keep serving the industry.
Yeah. I think what's important there is some of the lessons we've got a mentor, my business partner and I, that he's a big Jim Collins fan, and he talks about bullets instead of cannonballs. So when you're innovating and iterating and you're being nimble, it's easy to make a really seismic shift based upon a few data points, but it's that's this concept of hey, shoot a bullet there, shoot a couple bullets there, and then when you're really sure that it's the right place, then you launch the cannonball. And so again, that's something I think we've learned the hard way but gotten better at is lots of different directions we could go to respond to the market. Let's test this one, test this one, test this one, and let's really be sure before we commit.
Yeah, I have found that too. And I just think it's so valuable that people who have their own businesses know that you throw a lot at the wall and not a lot sticks, but you have to keep throwing it at the wall to see what is going to stick, and just, get up the next day and try it again and try it again and keep shifting until you find the right fit continuously.
Yeah. And I think there's something to be said about which is hard for me. My business partner is much more straight and narrow, operationally minded. I'm kind of, typically the idea guy. Is it's also when do you iterate and when do you timing's a big component of it. Making sure that you get really great at the fundamentals and the basics. And sometimes you can have a great response to a market and a brilliant idea. It's just not the right time, right? If throwing that off, if going and having that response is going to suddenly, derail you being fantastic at the basics, like maybe it's not the right time. Great idea, not the right time or not the right place.
Is there anything very specific to Procare HR that you want to share with us today about what really differentiates you from maybe some of your competitors?
Yeah, I think kind of two things when I think about what differentiates Procare, maybe three. One is like industry focus and like what motivates us to get up every day, I think really matters. And like, look, like we do this because we believe that people can have a significant impact. Like if the industry can do the people function better, we believe there's a clear and quantifiable link to the quality of care that these organizations provide and the financial efficiency with which they provide that care. So I think that mission is critically important to us and it informs everything we do. So I think the industry focus mission, I think, is number one. Number two is, we've worked really hard to develop a model where like we don't want our clients to have to make the hard choice where it's like, okay, I can either go with Procare and give X, Y, and Z up, or I can go with this organization and give A, B, and C. It's like oftentimes there's these really significant trade-offs going with this organization over the other because of features, function, quality of product or service or et cetera. And so we worked really hard to develop a model where they don't have to make those tough choices. It's like, look, like we can do these 6 things and we can do them really well, but we still have these other 5 things available for you to take off the shelf when you need them. So I think probably those are the 2 most significant. And then the third is like, look, like nothing we do today at Procare at least is like that groundbreaking. We don't have some proprietary secret code that like nobody can copy or something's incredible IP. Like what we're really, really good at and why people hire us is to execute. And we have built a great team, lots of great systems. We know the industry really well, and we built a box that works. And so our job is like refine the box and execute over and over and over again at a really high level. And that's why people hire us. It's not like I said, anybody can do what we're doing. It's just, can you do it consistently and well and delight customers?
Yeah, that's a very good distinction, especially when there's a lot of innovation in the industry. So, Brett, how can people get in contact with you to find out more about Procare?
Yeah, so obviously we're at all the industry association stuff. Typically, either presenting or exhibiting, et cetera. So always there. Go to the website. If you submit something and they contact us, we're pretty aggressive about following up there. So we'll get back to you. Otherwise, I would say most of the folks have probably received a sales or marketing email from us at one point or another. So you can always respond to that as well.
Yeah, we put a link up there that anyone can go to gain a guide on the 3 big benefits of an HR partner. And so if you do have any questions and you want to just glean some information, go ahead and head to that link. And I want to just thank you for coming on the show today. Thank you for explaining what you're doing and for having a heart for senior living and making it better.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate the conversation. Great questions, and I appreciate your focus as well.
Yeah, my pleasure. My pleasure. And for those of you that joined us today in the chat, thank you. You guys are awesome. I love to see that, and I'll get back to it and respond to it later on. And also want to say thank you to Fynn.io, which is a comprehensive senior living platform. It's designed by operators for operators. And you can visit Fynn.io for more information. Guys, we will see you back here next week for another episode on Tech Tuesday. Thanks for joining us.